Dave here, Journey to the Outdoors. We got a great video for you today. This is part 6 of the Deer Hunting 101 series, and I just really wanted to go into depth about calls and how you use those, when you should be using them, and the purposes for them. So really gonna dive right into this. As you can see, I got a nice little pile of antlers right here. This is a few of the deer, little bucks anyways, have gotten over the couple of years there, and it's kind of paid off. So as I said, it works on deer, as you can see, and this is coming from my experiences in the field, specifically how I've seen deer respond and to different calls. So to start off, you have a mouth call or a tube call. This is kind of an all-in-one kind of grunt call. It's got grunt, it's got bleat, it has a tending click. It's kind of like a sound that they make when they're tending, when bucks are tending a doe. So they'll make like a clicking or and then there's the grunt, of course, with that. So they do that while they're tending a doe in the rut. Usually if you hear that, a buck's senses of safety is very, very low on the totem pole. So and that's a great sound, and if you hear that, you're pretty close. They don't do it very loud, but if you hear that, you're pretty close to a buck. So then you have your fawns. It goes pretty, so it has different levels on the reed that you can kind of hit to get different sounds that you're looking for, depending on what the deer is doing. So then moving on, you have your all-around Tink 69. It's a great scent lure, and this is to get deer in the area, to grab their attention, to kind of lead them with their nose, so to say. And Tink, I've used it several years. It works pretty well. Usually as a walk-in scent trail. That's to get the deer walking on a trail, specifically straight towards where you want them to be. And then moving on, you have some pretty, I don't even know if you can find this very much anymore. There used to be what you call Team Fitzgerald. I haven't seen them around in some time. I think they are on YouTube though. Team Fitzgerald, we used to follow them way back when, and they came out with a product called Deer Dander. It's literally the smell that the deer has, not just, it will equate to a human's BO, their body odor or whatever, but Deer Dander is very effective at just keeping a cover scent over you and keeping yourself not noticeable to the deer. It supposedly advertises that it will calm the deer down. You can spray it on your footsteps and on your tree stand climber, and they will end up just smelling it and walking away. It smells just like a deer. That's what they advertise. Then the other cover scent attractant that's out there, one of a really good reputable company, you should check them out. It's Lucky 7, and from the makers of Nelson Creek Outdoors. They got a great starting company up there, making deer attractants and scents and minerals to get deer into a specific spot that you want. And you want to definitely check your game, your state laws, to see if you're able to put these in the areas. But this cover scent is a sweet vanilla thriller. It works really great to, like I said, cover up area that you're going into is made to calm the deer down. You spray that on your boots, spray that around your tree stand area once you get in there, and get in your stand. That's going to calm your deer down. Now, one of the most sought after deer calls is the antlers, the rattling buck. Everybody seems to think that attracts bucks in. It does, but at a certain amount, at a certain specific time, and a specific time of the year. You're looking for a specific phase of the rut, is when antlers are going to be most effective. Now, the thing is you have to really take into consideration the size of the antlers. If you have a average 10-point buck in your area of pretty good size, then you're going to use something that's maybe smaller than that, an 8 or a small 10. So because the different sizes of the racks have different sounds, and the deer can actually tell how big a buck is by the sound of it. They can tell that. So you're not going to have a little small buck, run in on a huge. He's going to run in and check it out, but he'll stay far behind. But he won't come in right up into a hunt and then and run right in on the action, because he's smaller than most of them. So that's just something to check out. So you want to use like a smaller size or medium sized buck, which would be something like this, like an 8 or a 9 if you can get them, but just a medium basket rack buck, because you can kind of rattle them, and the bigger ones are going to come in and say, hey, I can beat that guy. The main thing that you want to really apply to calls is there is a specific time and a specific instance where you would be using them. Deer respond to calls, but only at specific times. Basically, that's the best way I can say it. So to explain this, if you had a deer that was coming towards you, that was walking towards you at say like 200 yards, you would be safe enough if there is something in between you, maybe like a cornfield or something like that, and they were on the opposite side of the cornfield 200 yards away. You would be safe enough to use this call. It will actually carry loud enough that it will be a call that the deer can hear, but it's faint enough that they're not sure where it's coming from. So if you were to call, the deer will hear it, and then they can generally find out that area. You'll see them turn their heads to try and find out exactly where it's coming from. Once they pinpoint you, usually they will come in pretty quickly to cover the distance and say, hey, let me go check this out. And they'll cover that field. Now, once the deer starts getting about 80 yards in, this is where you don't want to call. Okay, you do not want to use a call unless you have like a very small little tap or something like that. If a deer was 80 yards away and they're coming in, if they're coming towards you, you do not use the call. You do not. They are coming the way that you want them to. So you only use a call when they're turning away. And it's basically like if you were hunting with a dog and the dog was going the way you want him to, you don't bump the electric collar. You don't use it. You don't need to direct him because he's going where you want him to go. Only if he starts to veer off the path, then you tell him, you say, hey, you'll maybe use a hand signal before using an electric collar, but then give him a corrective bump after that if he keeps going. So if he was coming towards you, I wouldn't call. But then if he starts to veer off a little bit, maybe turning to the left or the right, you would just give a little small. You want it to be very, very low sound, so the deer will think they're not close enough. So they will walk towards that sound until it gets louder. They can sense how low and how high a sound is. So that, just like you and me, if you were to hear your parents saying, "Hey, come here," you know, Daniel. You know, if the voice is low, you know you're far away. Once you get really close and the voice gets loud, you know you're in the area. And then you can pinpoint. Deer react the same way. So if they were getting off the path, just give a small little, you know, something like that. Just a small little grunt to say, "Hey, here I am." That's what a grunt says to a deer. "Hey, here I am." And then they'll turn and come in a little bit closer. Now, if they're coming, don't call. Main principle. Antlers are used if you do not see deer in the area. Now, I have seen in cases and have used in cases. It's very situational, depending on the situation. If a buck is about 100 yards away and you've already did a session to get him in, you know, and you've already did a nice little rattle to get them in. You're clinging them, banging them around and everything, and you get them in the area. You say, "Hey, I can see him over there." So you give them just a little tickle like that, and that's just saying there's two bucks over there, kind of, you know, meandering around. So then you can get that deer in closer. Usually, if you're using antlers, you're on a gun hunt. That should be the case, because deer will pop up in an area and it's very fast paced. They'll pop up in an area and then you'll see them maybe for a few seconds and they're gone. If they don't see the deer, to finish coming on in, to commit to coming right in on the fight, they will usually run away. So you know, calling with antlers is a very fast paced hunt, and usually it's if you're on the ground. That's better, you know, or you're like, if you have a buddy on the ground, he's doing the call sequence, the antler rattling sequence, then you're up in the tree stand where you could see, then that will be a better two-man position to get a buck down. That would work very well, but they're usually looking exactly where those antlers are running. You don't want, rattling. You don't want to get spotted in a situation like that. But antlers rattling, I would say it's usually around October to the last couple of days of the rut, which would be like the second or third week of November. For the Midwest is what I'm saying. For the Midwest, that's when they're optimum. It's when the rut is going, and then that is saying that there are two bucks fighting over a doe. That's why they come in. They're fighting for the right to mate. So you know, if you're trying to give the appearance that you are a dominant buck in the area and you're fighting another buck, then another buck will come in and slip in and try and get on that doe. But you usually need some sort of doe estrus to go along with the rattling to simulate that there is something that they're fighting over. You know, there is a doe that they're fighting over. But you know, in any case, you still want to be very scent free. Okay, now to move on to let's say we have a decoy set out. Okay, now a decoy, you're going to want to use something like a deer dander to spray that decoy down. You want to make sure it's really clean, but spray that decoy down with deer dander so a deer not only sees, but he smells. That's 2 confirmed. That's 2 out of 3. He sees and he smells. That's going to make him commit to coming in once he has 2 of those confirmed. Now, if he doesn't hear, that's okay. But if he sees and he smells, that's 2 confirmed. Or if he hears and he sees, that's 2 confirmed. You want to get 2 out of the 3 confirmed. So to beat his nose with your scent, that would be using like the cover scent. Okay, so you're just making sure that, hey, he's not going to smell me or smell something and then bust out of there. To get him in an area specifically, you would use the Tink 69 or an attractant like such to say, you know, this is where the does are, this is exactly where they are, come here. And you know, and then to say that the two bucks are fighting. So you can see how all of these play into each other and how you would need to use them. But like I said, once you get a deer in an area, calm it all down. You want them to, the thing that makes them commit is curiosity. That's what makes them commit. If you can get the 2 out of the 3 confirmed, meaning the scent, the smell, and the sight, if you can get 2 out of the 3 of those and then have his curiosity for the third one saying, hey, maybe there's a deer in there, you're gonna get that deer. And you have to play it easy. Little is a lot when it comes to using calls. Just remember that. Alright, that's enough for this video. I filled you guys' ears. Definitely get out there. You know, if you don't believe me, look back at my footage. You know, I've used several different occasions where I've used calls, and it's very, very, very effective. If a deer has you sighted, don't use a call. Don't use a call. Okay, if a deer is looking directly at you, they have you spotted, and they have their ears both pointed directly towards you, they have you figured out. Just don't move. Don't move. Stay there. More often than not, they'll kind of watch. They'll watch, and then they'll say, okay, well, maybe I didn't see what I saw. As long as you don't move. I've been within 10 feet of a deer, of a buck, for 3 minutes, eye-to-eye contact. That was the only thing that got me, was he turned his head and we had eye-to-eye contact, less than 10 feet between us. It can happen. So the thing you want to make sure to do is when you have a deer in your area, in your zone, especially within 20 feet of your shooting zone, just say kind of like an area where you're uncomfortable shooting. If you shoot out to 40 yards and you have a deer come in about 55, you know what you want to do to get that deer in closer is really, you can use a call, but like I said before, use it softly. But you want to watch that deer's movements. Watch the ears, watch the tail. Okay, the tail is usually a giveaway sign of what they're feeling. It's a telltale. That's where that comes from. Telltale giveaway. Because a deer's tail will generally, if it would stay limp, it will stay down. If this is a deer back, this is a deer tail, it will stay down. Okay, so it you know, usually it's kind of flipping like that. If it's just kind of flipping, then and they're occasionally flipping flies away, they're calm. That's what you want. That's what you want, is a nice calm deer. Okay, now when they spot something, and usually they stop and their ears will point towards it, and then their tail will go just about halfway. So if it's down, they're not sure, and if it goes halfway, they see it, but they're still not sure. Now, when it goes up, that's a full sign. Everybody knows this. Once you see a whitetail and it's a full sign, that means that they've spotted you. They're clearing the area. And then as they're jumping, they will have a little flip to it. As they're jumping and running, it always dances back and forth, just like that. Flip, 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 flip. You see that? Hunt's over. But you like I said, you usually want to watch that tail, because it's kind of flipping back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And if it goes still, they're curious. They're not sure, but they're curious. And then if it goes halfway, it's almost going up. And once it goes up, that's it. But a deer's tail and their ears can usually give you signs of what they're feeling and what they're going to do. And you can calm that deer down. Believe it or not, you can calm that deer down. Just stay really still. Don't move. No crackles. No sound. That'll calm them down. An old man told me one tip too is deer and turkey cohabitate. Okay, and they use the sounds of each other to kind of let them know what the alert level is in an area. So deer and turkey are fine. You know, they'll kind of be in the same area, and if they hear a turkey, they know it's safe. Deer can't see as well as turkey can. Turkey can see very, very well. They can hear twice as much. So you know, if they can see and they can hear better than deer can smell better than turkey can. So deer, if they hear a turkey, they know that it's a safe area. They're like, hey, there's no one in the area. We'll come on in and meander around and kind of take the corn or whatever the turkey are after. So if the deer are in the area, the turkey know, hey, there's no predators in the area, because they can smell and they can see okay. They can see pretty good, but not as good as a turkey. So they know that it's pretty safe. And then if all else fails, turkey can fly away. But so they kind of cohabitate with each other. So if you get a deer in the area and they're kind of nervous about it all, just keep a little turkey call too. You know, give it a little bump and a little, you know, just a cut or something like that. A little cut or a cut or a cluck or something like that, or a drum, and then that'll let them know. They'll hear that and say, hey, there's a turkey in this area. It should be cool. That's probably what I'm hearing. You know, so especially if you're walking into a tree stand, you can use that. It's not uncommon at all. Now, deer also use squirrels too to listen to the call. So, you know, if a squirrel is kind of rattling around and through the leaves and stuff, deer will feel a lot more comfortable. I have shot more deer under a squirrel than I have any other animal. That is the honest to God truth. Honest to God truth. As soon as I see a squirrel come in, they'll kind of meander around, and they'll for some reason leave the ground and go up a tree and kind of sit there, and they'll bark. They'll bark at the deer. Bark, and then you hear that big old crunching sound, and then walks this big old boy here, and he gets struck down. And this one came under several squirrels that were barking at last shooting light, and he came in. So, you know, it's just, you know, that's something to really pay attention to. So now we're gonna move on. All right, next video, let's move along, keep this going. JTO.